And God said, Behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed. To you it shall be for food. Genesis 1:29. Man did eat angels' food. He sent them meat to the full. Psalm 78:25. Everyday Manna with Lisa.
Hi everybody, and welcome to Everyday Manna. Today we are going to make a classic dish that I think people have forgotten about, but it is delicious and it's so easy, and it's Salisbury steak. And to go alongside that, we're going to make some orange-glazed beets, and then we're going to have a praline biscuit. Now you could do this for dessert, or you could do it for breakfast, either the biscuit part. So we're going to make it a dessert today. So let's get started. Now I have my oven preheated to 325 degrees, and we're going to get started on the Salisbury steak. Now I have a large pan here that's oven proof. If you don't have an oven proof skillet, then you're going to need to have an additional baking dish to put the patties in with the gravy on it. But I'm going to use an oven proof to save, washing dishes. So I'm going to be preheating that to like medium-high heat. And in here I've got some ground chuck, and then I'm going to finely mince up now this is a big onion, so I think I'm only going to do half of it. We'll see how much it looks like when I get it done. I'm going to finely mince that, if I can keep it together. And we're going to add that to our hamburger here, our ground chuck. You could use ground sirloin. I would not use the package that's called ground beef. The reason is that is awfully fatty, and you're going to have a very greasy gravy. Now, if that's all you have, use it, but I would drain off some of the fat before I've added the gravy mixture and put it in the oven. Now, I'm going to just take my knife. Once you dice it, if you put one end of your knife on the board, just like you're mincing up garlic or herbs or anything like that, I just want these onions to be a little finer. You could also grate it on a box grater if you wanted to. And I'm going to add those to my beef mixture. Now, the onions are going to add flavor. They're also going to add moisture. I think I'm just going to use half because that was a big onion. Now, I'm also going to add some salt and pepper. I'm going to add some milk. But as a binder agent, I'm going to just use some saltine crackers. I'm just going to crush them up. You want about half a cup. Now, what this will do is I'm going to mix this with the milk, and it will make what's called a panade. And it will add a lot of moisture to our patties, our Salisbury steak patties. If you don't have crackers, you could use oats, just like, the plain oats like you make oatmeal out of. And I'm going to add these to the milk first. Tight squeeze there. And I'm going to kind of stir those together. And that cracker's going to soak up the milk. And then it's going to release back into the meat mixture. Just let that set for just a second. Oops, lost 2 crumbs there. And then add that into your ground beef mixture. Now here's where your hands, clean hands, are your friend. Now let me get another board here, because I don't want to put my raw meat on my board to form my patties. And I've accidentally done that a couple of times. And if you ever do, just take some, like a cup of water and add a couple tablespoons of bleach to it, and then sanitize your board. And that's actually a good mixture to do that ever so often anyway. Don't overmix your, and then, by the way, let me finish that thought. Spray it on your board, let it set for a couple of minutes, and then wash it with soap and water, and that'll disinfect it. Because I have accidentally put my meat on my board. There's a lot going on this show, and it's hard. Sometimes I forget. See, this is a very moist mixture. Now, I want to take just a handful. Don't overmix it, because that will make it tough. And I want to form my patties like you were making hamburgers. And if my oil is hot, let's see, I don't think it's quite hot enough yet. So let's just make another little patty. Let's set that to the side and make another one. This is a classic dish that I don't know when it was first made, so to speak, but I can remember when I was just a young girl, this was very popular in frozen TV dinners. And I guess it probably still is. Salisbury steak. A lot of people just have kind of forgotten about it. But it's a very economical dish that's really good. You want to make sure that your patties are all about the same size. Add a little more to that one. And then once your oil is hot, we're going to add them to the pan. Want to hear that sizzle? And we're going to brown them on both sides. Not going to cook them through. We're just going to brown them. And then we're going to put our gravy mixture on them. It's really easy. I'll show you how to do that in just a second. And if you find you've got too much meat mixture, you can form your patties like this and then freeze them. And then when you want to make it next time, you've got a head start on dinner. I think I got room for one more in there. Scoot them over there a little bit. Make room. It's okay if they get crowded in here. It's no big deal. They're going to shrink a little bit too. If this gets too sticky, you can add a little bit more cracker crumbs dry. But it's okay. Now, let's get this in there. And we're just going to brown these on both sides. Let me wash my hands here, get my board over here. Just brown them on both sides. And then I'll show you what the gravy mixture is. Let me wash my hands. Because you always want to wash your hands after handling raw meats of any kind. Wash your hands thoroughly. Now, for the gravy, and I'll just freeze that and use that for another meal another day. For the gravy, you could use cream of mushroom soup. I have chosen golden mushroom soup because I like it better. But cream of mushroom soup, cream of chicken, cream of celery, you could use any of those kinds of soup mixtures. And then I've added just about half of the soup can of water. You could use chicken stock if you wanted, but this soup mixture is so richly flavored that I don't think you need to use the chicken broth. So I'm just going to brown these on both sides. Just brown them. Pour this over it and then get it in the oven. And when I come back, what we're going to do is get started on the praline biscuits. I'll be back in just a minute. All right, now all I did, I had that other half of the onion and I thought, why not just put that in the gravy? So I just want to show you what I've done. I just chopped it up and I've put it down in the pan with the hamburger patties, and I browned them on the one side and flipped them over. They're not cooked through, and I know that, but that's okay because we're going to put them in the oven. Now I'm going to put the soup mixture over it. And we're going to put this in the oven, 325 degrees, for about 30 minutes or so. And it will finish cooking in the oven. I just want to make sure that that soup mixture is all over those little patties. I will ask you a question. I asked my camera people over the break, or one of them. How long has it been since you've had Salisbury steak? She answered me about 20 years. Let me open my oven. I'd say it's been longer than that for me. I'd say it's been 25 years. So we're going to put this in the oven. You don't need to cover it. And we're going to let that go for about 30 minutes. Now, let's get started on our biscuits. Now, I have a muffin tin that I have sprayed with non-stick spray. And I've got some butter melting in the microwave here. So let's get that out. If it's melted, it's melted. And now let's give it about 10 more seconds. You could cut your butter up in, that's 1 stick of butter, into 12 pieces and put 1 piece down in there and melt it in the oven if you wanted to do that. But I'm going to do it this way. It's a little easier. Yeah, that's perfect. Now, I'm going to cheat. I went ahead and melted it in the oven. And then I'm going to just divide it into 12 pieces, or 12 little spoonfuls. Just divide it evenly among your muffin tins. What's going to happen is this butter is going to caramelize a little bit along with the pecans that we're going to put down in the bottom. This is delicious as a breakfast sweetbread or a dessert. You could serve it with some ice cream maybe, or some whipped cream. Just kind of eyeball it, make sure you got them evenly. That's good. Then we're going to take some pecan halves and we're going to put, I'm going to turn them cut side down so they look a little prettier when we take them out. Just put like 3 or 4, however many will fit in there, of your pecans. You could use walnuts if you wanted to, or almonds, any kind of nut, but I just like the pecans. They're very good for you. Nuts in general are very good for you. Just don't overdo. I try to eat a handful. I'm trying to use my whole halves. If you don't have whole halves, don't worry about it. Just put pieces in there. It's no big deal. I try to eat a handful of walnuts every day because they're very rich in the omega fatty acids and oils that you really do need in your diet. And they just are very good. I don't know if I have any more whole halves or not, so we're just not going to worry about it, are we? We'll just put a couple pieces down in there. Just get like, I don't know, 3 pieces or so in each one. You can't have too many in my opinion. Okay, that's good. Well, that one looks a little weak. Let's add another piece to that. All right. That'll make a great snack later. Now, we're going to take some cinnamon and sprinkle a little bit of cinnamon over each little tin there, over the pecans and the butter. And that's going to caramelize at the bottom of the muffins that we're going to make, the little quick breads. You could use nutmeg if you wanted to, or apple pie spice, any kind of a warm spice that you like. Now in here I have 2 cups of just a dry baking mix. I'm adding about half a cup of applesauce to add some moisture. Instead of oil, we're adding the applesauce and some milk, and I'm using 2% milk. And I'm just going to stir that together to form a loose batter. And again, don't overwork your dough. You just want to, you see how when I stir it, there's really not any dry piles, but yet it's still lumpy. I had a friend ask me one time about why her pancakes were so lumpy, and it was because she was just stirring and stirring and stirring and stirring until that batter was completely smooth. You've overworked it, and it will be lumpy by that point. Now, just divide it evenly into your pan, your little muffin tins. You could do this in mini muffins if you wanted to, and just, like maybe put 1 pecan half down in there. That would be good. Just spoon it down in there. I love these. absolutely love them. They are so very good. I need to get a little thing that'll let me get all of this dough out. Let me grab a little spatula here. I love these little things to kind of get every bit of the dough out of a container. You'd be surprised. Peanut butter, by the way. If you'll use one of these, you can, when you get down to that last little bit of peanut butter in the jar, you can scrape out enough for another sandwich. I use these all the time to get that last little bit of cake batter or whatever I'm making. See? Perfect. Now smooth those out. And they go in alongside the Salisbury steak patties. These need to bake about 20 minutes or until when you stick a toothpick in there, it comes out clean, and I'll show you how to do that. So I'm going to take a quick break. I'm just going to clean up, get these in the oven, and then when I come back, we're going to get started on the beets. I'll be back in just a minute. All right, now our little biscuits are done, and I took them out of the little muffin tin, and here they are. And I, turned them upside down so that you could see the side where we put the pecans, and I have to admit, I snuck one, and they're very good. Oh, warm with just a little smidge of butter on there. So good. Now, our Salisbury steak is done. We're just got it still keeping warm in the oven. We've got, we're going to make an orange-glazed beet dish. I adore beets. I like them roasted. I love them in a salad. Just take canned beets, which is what we're going to use today, chop them up and put them in a salad. I love them like the Harvard beets. I love beets any way you cook them. Now, in here, I have just some cornstarch, and I'm going to add some orange juice to make a smooth paste. You could use frozen orange juice, 1 can of frozen orange juice mixed with 1 can of water, or you can just use a couple of cups of prepared orange juice, whichever you have on hand is fine. Now, I have a pan here that I'm going to heat up over medium-high heat. I've got some apple cider vinegar, and I've got some brown sugar, just to add a little sweetness to it. Not too much, just a little bit. And I'm going to dissolve that brown sugar in the apple cider vinegar over like medium heat. Now, if you wanted to serve another side dish with this, I would suggest mashed potatoes or like egg noodles that you've cooked, and maybe buttered egg noodles with a little parsley or something like that would be perfectly good. Steamed green beans. I just wanted to show you a different dish besides the traditional mashed potatoes, but trust me, this is really good with mashed potatoes. Now I'm going to add my cornstarch and orange juice mixture to the pan, and I'm going to bring that up to a simmer because that cornstarch will thicken that way. I'm just going to add a little bit more orange juice. You don't want it to be thick like a gravy. You just want it to be thickened up to coat the beets. So we're going to bring that up to a simmer. And I am just going to use canned beets. Now, you could use whole beets, or you could just use sliced beets, which is what I'm using today. They even make little diced beets, little diced up beets. You could use those. You could use julienne. You could use any kind of beet that you like. If you don't have canned and you're lucky enough to have fresh, cook them ahead of time. Just take your raw beets, Scrub them. Don't peel them. Trust me on this, unless you just really like stained hands or stained boards. Just wrap them up in foil, aluminum foil, skin and all. Put them in the oven at like 375 for about an hour until they're tender when you pierce them with a fork or a knife. Take them out, let them cool a little bit, and then take paper towels, and the skins will just slip off, and then you can dice them or cut them or however you want to do them. But for convenience sake today, we're just going to use the canned beets. And that's actually a vegetable that I don't mind canned. Do they taste exactly like fresh? No, but they're good. I adore fresh beets. That's actually one of my favorite vegetables is beets roasted with balsamic vinegar and a little bit of like sun-dried tomato in there. Oh, so good. Or just straight olive oil, salt, and pepper is good. So we're just going to let that go. Let's get our Salisbury steak out of the oven because it's done. Let's turn my oven off. Yum, yum. Now let me get this oven door closed. And you've got a meal in one with the gravy and everything just right there. Stir that up. And remember we added that extra onion on there in your soup. I used golden mushroom, but you could use, you could use any kind of a cream of mushroom or cream of celery, cream of chicken, whatever you have on hand. But again, this would be wonderful served over top of mashed potatoes or buttered egg noodles. My favorite would probably be buttered egg noodles. Now, our broth has come up to a simmer, and I want to show you what I mean. See, that's still thick, but not so thick that it's not going to glaze the beets. So I'm going to add 1 can of beets, juice and all, to that mixture. Actually, I think I'm going to add 2 cans. And it'll turn red because the beet juice is red. That's okay. Just be careful, beet juice stains everything. So I'm going to add another can. I'm going to drain this can though because I've got plenty of liquid. So I'm going to drain this. Just use my hand to catch the beets down my sink. It's okay. And then add that second can. And those just need to heat through. And add about 1 tablespoon of butter. And that's it for beets. They just need to warm through. And kind of coat those beets up. Just takes a couple minutes. Doesn't take long at all for those to heat because the beets, of course, are already cooked. So let's serve up our Salisbury steak. Now, let's get one of these little patties. That's not too bad. And put that on your plate. And don't forget that gravy now. We can't forget the gravy. So get some of that wonderful gravy out of there. And put that over top. And you've got a delicious, delicious homemade Salisbury steak meal that is just divine. Just warming these through. I love beets. I'm going to add just a touch of salt and just a touch of pepper. And then they're about done. Just a little bit. They don't need much. And some fresh ground pepper. And that's it. And they're done. They're heated through. The butter is melted. So I would take a slotted spoon and just put on a good healthy portion of these beets because they're very good and very good for you. To go alongside our wonderful Salisbury steak. And you've got an easy, quick meal. Again, add some mashed potatoes or some buttered egg noodles as a starch side dish, maybe a green salad, and there you go. You've got a wonderful homemade Salisbury steak, a delicious orange-glazed beet, and your wonderful little praline biscuits that are great for dessert. Top that with some ice cream or homemade whipped cream would be wonderful. Make a caramel sauce. They don't need anything, but you could. Or for breakfast the next morning with a cup of coffee or tea would be divine. Thank you for joining with me. Try these recipes. Let me know what you think, and I will see you next time on Everyday Manna.
Thank you for watching Everyday Manna with Lisa. This program is made possible by viewers like you. Your support is continually needed to keep Christian programming on the air. Please send your best financial gift to Living Faith Television in care of Everyday Manna, P.O. Box 1867, Abingdon, Virginia 24212.